My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. All right. We are in our study of the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15. I've been illustrating for you how Paul's discussion of the resurrection in 1 Corinthians 15 is parallel to Paul's discussion of the resurrection in Romans chapter 8. I've been laser focused in the last few videos on Paul's linkage between suffering and martyrdom and the coming glory. His iteration of the fact that the first century church was suffering in the first century. They were experiencing what he called the sufferings of Christ. And then he spoke of the imminent coming of vindication, glorification, manifestation, and resurrection in Romans chapter 8. Notice in verse 17, he said, if we're heirs, then we are heirs of God, joint heirs with Christ, if so be that we suffer with him, we shall also be glorified with him. Here is the suffering of Christ, the sufferings of Christ, and coming glory. And then in verse 18 and following, he emphasizes the imminence of that coming glory, the glory about to be revealed. They were standing on their tiptoes with their necks outstretched looking for it, and they were expecting it to come in their lifetime. Now, I've been sharing with you the direct parallels between Romans 8 and other passages. Now, remember, the significance and the key to this is the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 is the resurrection, the adoption, the redemption of the body of Romans chapter 8. The resurrection, the redemption of the body of Romans chapter 8 would come at the time of the vindication for their suffering that they were enduring in the first century. And so the resurrection would be the time of the vindication for that first century martyrdom. I shared with you some thoughts yesterday from the book of 1 Peter. I tell you, I absolutely love 1 Peter. Let's continue our investigation of this motif of suffering and coming glory. Now remember, Peter in 1 Peter says they were suffering, but they only had to suffer a little while until they would receive their inheritance. Let me see. Remember what Paul said in Romans chapter 8? They were heirs, joint heirs. What does that mean? They were waiting for the inheritance. Heirs, inheritance, suffering, glory. Okay, I'm just going to read this text in 1 Peter chapter 4. Beloved, do not think it strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you. Now, this is really unfortunate translation because the literal Greek here is, do not think it strange concerning the fiery trial that is among you. It's already there. Anyway, as though some strange thing had happened to you, but rejoice to the extent that you partake, watch this, of Christ's suffering, that when his glory is revealed, you may also be glad with exceeding joy. What did Paul say in Romans chapter 8? They were experiencing the sufferings of Christ. They were looking for the glory about to be revealed. Peter continues, if you are reproached, and that Greek word that is used there is persecution, it's slander, it's sarcasm, it's ridicule, it's being cut off from society. If you are reproached for the name of Christ, blessed are you, for the Spirit of glory and God rest upon you. By the way, this is temple imagery, has to do with the Shekinah glory of the new temple that Peter had discussed back in 1 Peter chapter 2. Don't have time to develop that. On their part, he is blasphemed, but on your part, he is glorified. See, suffering, glory. Let none of you suffer as a murderer, a thief, an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Yet if any man suffers as a Christian, let him glorify God in this name. Another bad translation. For the time has come for the judgment to begin at the house of God. And if it first begins with us, what will be the end of those who do not obey the gospel of God? Do you notice? Did you notice? Here is Peter talking about the then present suffering, the glory to come, and the time had come for the judgment. Well, what is this judgment? It is the judgment of those persecuting them. They are longing for, looking for, expecting their vindication at the time of the judgment, when the glory of Christ would be revealed, when the resurrection would take place. And as we shall see, we will see that Peter is absolutely, totally emphatic that the resurrection, the judgment, the coming of Christ was about to take place. Listen, I cover all of this in detail in this video series, 20 videos on 1 Peter. 1 Peter thematic studies, 20 DVDs, an average of 45 minutes to an hour long. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com, and order the videos. By the way, you can download them now at a reduced cost from my donkpreston.com site. So take advantage of this. If you want an investigation of 1 Peter and his eschatology, get a copy of these DVDs. Okay, tomorrow's video, I'm going to share with you Peter's absolutely emphatic declarations that the time of the judgment, the time of the resurrection, was present, had drawn near when he wrote 2,000 years ago. We'll see you on the flip side.